An economic collapse of biblical proportion resulting in cashless society. Cash to soon be illegal with the excuse that it carries viruses. This is the next stage in the globalist plan. Digital currency. They can control it, track it, and most importantly, take it away from you in the blink of an eye. This pandemic is working like a charm for the globalists. The global elites are building their one world currency system and one world government right in front of your face and openly admitting to it. You're screwed either way. Have the money in the bank, risk a banking holiday, or them freezing your funds. Have cash on hand. They'll tell you it's a spreader of the virus. Pure genius in trying to ban cash. Using the virus as an excuse. Can't store cash under the mattress in case of bail-ins. This is the new America unfolding. Order out of chaos. The quickest way to bring about chaos is bombarding the population with decisions, scenarios, catastrophic events, rights violations, monetary instability, and quite possibly food supply. This virus is a curtain to cover up all the government is doing, but we are peeking and seeing it all. Digital currency is how they will change us off the petrodollar. Say hello to one world currency and new world order. It's all about skimming. All taxes will be collected on every digital transaction. They will even eliminate the IRS, and the people will cheer only to pay even more with digital tax collection. Right now, less than 5% of US dollars in circulation is in the form of bills. The rest is electronic. The swamp wants a cryptocurrency like the Bitcoin, so they would be able to track transactions regardless of each bank's privacy policy. The swamp wants it to control the elite to prevent any chance of a revolution. Please remember that all electronic currency riding the blockchain requires internet to use for a platform of exchange from one party to another, whether government, corporation, or person. Each person will be required to offer up their biometrics to access the internet to buy and sell on the blockchain in the very near future. Thus fulfilling Revelation chapter 13. The hideous beast is rising out of the sea. This is what the last days is supposed to look like. We're there. This is getting to the point where we will all have a chip implanted, and we can scan our wrist to pay. If only everyone would go into the banks and clean out their accounts like they do supermarkets and watch how quickly the banks will close because they haven't got any money. And see how much of a scam the global economy really is that is purely based on debt. With this current situation, the governments are dishing out trillions of dollars, yet one has to question, where exactly are the banks getting all this money from? What I want to know is when markets crash with billions of dollars, where does all this money go? It can't just disappear. It has to go somewhere. Otherwise, that money and values never existed to begin with. We are at a dark and historic turning point. And things are going to get worse.
Military to help out. And in the article, I know you don't reveal your sources, but I'd like you to elaborate about the metal shackles they're going to put on the wrists with the computer chip. And maybe Catherine Albrecht, you can add to that comment.
Unfortunately, I believe one among several plans to ensure that the government's edict of mandated vaccinations, and by the way, the state of Oklahoma last week passed through its House just such a law for the state of Oklahoma and its residents that everyone will be vaccinated in the state of Oklahoma. Now, having said that, there are also plans that will ensure that you do not freely travel, nor will you be able to really go anywhere without proof that you have had the vaccination at the point that the government mandates that certain levels of the population take the inoculation. When that happens, I have been told by state troopers across the country that there are plans ready to be implemented that would include roadblocks and choke points, as we call them, major interstate junctions around major cities and so forth, where the greatest number of people can be held until they either prove their vaccination by papers, or in the case of a medical specialist in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, who told me that they had observed a semi-tractor trailer being unloaded at the hospital loading dock, pallets and pallets, scores of cases of metal bracelets that once put on would slip into a place and be either pegged in there with some kind of device to hold it in place, but the band was meant to be permanent. On top is a chip. That chip will include all kinds of information about you and the fact that you have been inoculated. Now, this is one of several plans. It has not yet seen the light of day, but it is there. It's in readiness. You choose the poison. It's either slow homicide or slow suicide. They're either going to kill you with the injection, or if you go up and say, sure, I just want to be able to go wherever I want to go, and you take it, to me, that's virtual suicide. Just slow motion suicide. So we've all talked about not getting the vaccination, that's clear, but you may not have a choice. I am told that the plans include buses that will be standing by for people at roadblocks that refuse to take the inoculation. The people will then be escorted to the buses and taken, as I was told in the state I was in at that time when I was speaking to the troopers, you're going to get a free ride to a nice warm bunk at Fort Riley. Well, it's one of several plans. We can't know until they're implemented, but I assure you that those plans are in place and law enforcement is going to be pulled in. And one of the articles I wrote, I said the law enforcement community will enforce a new world order. There will be many that will not, and that's good news for us. But I believe it's still a majority that will be standing in line saying, get your shot or get on the bus. That's what's coming.
The ability to prove one's identity is a fundamental and universal human right.
We live in a digital era.
Individuals need a trusted, verifiable way to prove who they are,
both in the physical world
and online.
Over 1 billion people worldwide are unable to prove their identity through any recognized means.
As such, they are without the protection of law and are unable to access basic services, participate as a citizen or voter, or transact in the modern economy.
La mayoría de esos afectados son niños y adolescentes. Muchos de ellos son refugiados, desplazados forzosos o personas sin país.
For some, including refugees, the stateless, and other marginalized groups, reliance on national identification systems isn't possible.
This may be due to exclusion, inaccessibility, or risk, or because the credentials they do hold are not broadly recognized.
While we support efforts to expand access to national identity programs, we believe it is imperative to complement such efforts by providing alternatives to individuals lacking safe and reliable access to state-based systems.
We believe that individuals must have control over their own digital identities,
including how personal data is collected, used, and shared.
Everyone should be able to assert their identity across institutional and national borders and across time.
La privacidad, la portabilidad y la persistencia son necesarias para que la identidad digital empodere y proteja a las personas de manera importante.
Digital identity carries significant risk if not thoughtfully designed and carefully implemented.
We do not underestimate the risks of data misuse and abuse, particularly when digital identity systems are designed as large, centralized databases.
Technical design can mitigate some of the risks of digital identity.
Emerging technology, for example, cryptographically secure, decentralized systems,
could provide greater privacy protection for users, while also allowing for portability and verifiability.
But widespread agreement on principles, technical design patterns, and interoperability standards is needed for decentralized digital identities to be trusted and recognized.
This better model of digital identity will not emerge spontaneously.
In order for digital identities to be broadly trusted and recognized, we need sustained and transparent collaboration aligned around these shared principles, along with supporting regulatory and policy frameworks.
ID2020 alliance partners jointly define functional requirements, influencing the course of technical innovation, and providing a route to technical interoperability, and therefore trust and recognition.
The ID2020 Alliance recognizes that taking these ideas to scale requires a robust evidence base, which will inform advocacy and policy.
As such, ID2020 Alliance-supported pilots are designed around a common monitoring and evaluation framework.
We humbly recognize that this is no easy task, but we see urgency as a moral imperative. This is why we have set ambitious targets and why we hold ourselves to account.
ID2020 is a global strategic initiative aiming to help deliver against the United Nations Sustainable Goal of legal identity for all.